day after explosive details detailing former President Trump's scheme to overturn the 2020 election were unsealed, Trump took to social media today, writing, quote, "For 60 days prior to an election, the Department of Justice is supposed to do absolutely nothing that would taint or interfere with said election." In that 165-page partially redacted filing, special counsel Jack Smith alleges Trump personally and criminally schemed to overturn the free and fair election. Our star correspondents join us now to help us understand this. Now, the filing came out yesterday. We've had some time to digest it. First off, how unusual is it for this information in a filing to come out so close to an election? And what stands out to you since you've had some time to really process?
Well, let's hit on this issue of how unusual is this, right? It's not a surprise. It's certainly not unusual that Trump accused the Justice Department of weaponization. But I want to reiterate, it was a judge, Judge Tanya Chutkan, who's overseeing this case. She was the one who decided to release this yesterday, and he has accused the Justice Department of violating its rule that they try not to do things that could impact an election about 60 days before that election. But that is usually for new cases or taking, concrete steps. This is an ongoing investigation. It's been going on for several years, so it's not clear that that would really fit inside that policy. But this is unusual. You don't usually get to see this much of a prosecutor's case, including here, never before seen evidence like conversations the former president had with his then Vice President Mike Pence. Pamela, it's not even clear they're going to be able to get that evidence in at a possible trial based on what the Supreme Court decided. That's still being litigated. So I think that her decision to release this will be analyzed for a long time to come, because it's not supposed to be the case where you're investigated by the federal government and they're able to just dump all the evidence into the public sphere without a trial. But on the other side, there is an argument that voters have a right to see this evidence because the Supreme Court really made it impossible to bring this to trial.
Right. And I asked Congressman, a Republican, Mike Waltz, about this earlier, what was brought up in this filing. And I want us to listen to what he said and then talk about it on the other side.
It makes no sense except for a political motivation that Jack Smith and the judge unsealed this before the Trump campaign even had a chance to respond. They were given to mid-October to respond. This is politically driven. It's being done deliberately in the weeks before. And I got to tell you, I'm not hearing from a single constituent any concerns about this.
What do you think? Do you think he has a point?
Look, I think it is going to drive the voters on their respective sides. On the Trump voters' side, if the former president talks about this, which so far he's been talking in Saginaw, Michigan this afternoon for quite some time at a rally, and he's not made a mention of it at this moment. We will see if he does. But look, this could motivate Trump supporters. This could motivate his base on the left. It could motivate some others. The vast majority of voters are looking at this election through their lenses of their own lives, through pocketbook issues, through concerns about potentially immigration or other matters, not about the former president's illegal case. So I do not think this is going to be a driver of the election, but it certainly is a reminder. And coming on the heels of Liz Cheney's endorsement and appearance in Wisconsin in the next hour, this is all tied together. So it is certainly an argument that bolsters the Harris campaign's, really anthem of her candidacy about how a second president, a Trump administration, would be dangerous for the country. But overall, voters, I don't think, are going to be driven by this issue.
And on the other side, those voters who support Trump will say, see, it is another example of him being, the victim here. But as Paula pointed out, look at the judge. Chutkan it's not part of the Justice Department, but as we've seen all along, Donald Trump has tried to lump everything in together here. Bring us inside the Justice Department, though, this extraordinary time, right?
Yeah.
And the internal deliberations so close to an election.
Look, the quiet period is a real thing. I can tell you because we're trying to do stories and people are like, well, if the story's going to run before, within the 30 days before the election, there's a 30-day period as well that they go quiet. They can't, you can't hear from Justice Department officials. And so it's a real thing and they are very cognizant of it. But this is a prosecution, as Paula pointed out, that began last year. These are charges that were brought last year. And so even within the Justice Department, they are no longer in control. This is a judge who is in control. And so that's where I think they draw the line. And I think Merrick Garland, as you know, from Pamela, from watching him and observing him, he is a rule follower. He is trying to make sure that he follows all of the restrictions. And I think this is one of those cases where the judge is really deciding these things.
And there's also, we should note, another deadline today, right?
Right,
For
there's a
obstruction?
deadline today where Trump is responding to the obstruction charges, and of course we expect that that's going to argue that the Justice Department, that Jack Smith should dismiss those charges regarding his obstruction as part of the January 6th investigation, the January 6th charges.
We really are living in extraordinary times to think we're talking about this.